Welcome to the OVA vlog. Today we have a very special guest, Natalia Hals, who is a owner of a doula center called A Women's Design, and she is here to tell us about a personal experience she recently had with endometriosis, and then we're also going to do a part 2 to this, and we're going to talk more about her business and what motivated her to start that. So stay tuned for part 2. This one we are talking about endometriosis. Welcome to the OVA vlog.
Thank you for having me and for talking about this. I feel like a very important subject.
So you recently sought out treatment for endometriosis. Can you tell us a little bit about when you kind of knew something wasn't quite right and when you started to think that maybe I have endometriosis and what that was like for you?
Sure. So I've always had heavy periods, like from day one. Kind of debilitating. I would always miss the first day of school. I would be in the bathroom on the floor the whole day, and that just became my normal. I was used to having really heavy periods, and just being very anemic all the time. So that was kind of the beginning. The first part of my life, I was used to it. I thought it was normal, and it kind of took a turn after I had my third child. And 6 months after he was born, when my cycle returned, I had what I felt like was my uterus exploded, or it felt like something exploded on the inside of me, and I drove myself to the hospital and found out that it was one of many ovarian cyst ruptures that I would experience over time. And so that was kind of the beginning of like, what is this and where is this coming from? And I started to seek out help from many doctors, family doctors, specialists, OBs, just to figure out, what's going on and what can I do to help this, because this isn't attainable. Like, I can't keep living like this. Yeah. And some, the common advice in the beginning was, we can do an ablation where they would go in and scrape the tissue out. Yeah. And that would kind of delay or help relieve some of the symptoms, but it wouldn't solve the problem.
Did you have that done ever?
I chose not to do it because one of the risks is it can make you sterile, and we weren't sure if we were done growing our family. So I opted out to not having that done. And actually, in hindsight, after some research, I learned that is not a solution. It's not effective at all.
Yeah.
Another recommendation was to get on birth control, to delay or to help reduce the symptoms of that.
It's like a Band-Aid.
It is like a Band-Aid, and I'm looking for a solution. I want to get this taken care of. So I didn't opt to go that route.
Yeah.
And so, like, years passed, 4 years would go, and it was starting to be normal for me to go to the ER every other month. Because of the cyst. The cyst would grow, it would rupture, I go to the ER. At the same time, I started to have other symptoms that are common with endometriosis. Intimacy was incredibly painful. I would have to take pain meds prior to or after in order to be intimate with my husband. And as you can imagine, that doesn't, that's not fun. Yeah. I started to have sciatic nerve pain that spread, and so I was in chronic pain almost every day for the last 2 years. So as the endometriosis was spreading, and I didn't know that's what it was, but as it was spreading, it was strangling other organs and tissues and nerves in my body. And so it was kind of at that point where I had to just kind of become my own advocate and say all the suggestions aren't options, and everything else has been, like you said, a Band-Aid. Yeah. And I need to dig deeper and find out what's going on.
So at that point, you talked to a friend who recommended a doctor that specialized in endometriosis, and how did that all work out?
So I have a friend who has been dealing with this for longer than I have, or has known about it longer than I have, and she had 6 surgeries here locally. And the treatments that I mentioned, she had done it all. And the ablation, she had where they thought they were getting the tissue out, and it just kept growing back. Okay. So she was having a surgery almost every year. But this last time, she chose to fly to Atlanta to a doctor who is well known, who has a special technique where he it's called excision, and so where he goes in and he gets rid of all the tissue that is out of place. Okay. And that reduces the likelihood that it will return. There are some cases where it does, because it's a very tricky disease and it can be hidden. Yeah. And but he has a very high success rate at doing that.
Okay. So you flew down to Atlanta.
I did.
What was it like when you first contacted him and sent him kind of everything that you had gone through and all of the information? Mm-hmm.
So she, this friend of mine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the friend of mine.
Okay.
Yeah. So the friend, she. I said, "Do you think this is what I'm dealing with?" I told her all the symptoms that I have been dealing with and struggling with, and she said, "I've been wondering if that is what you might be dealing with, but I didn't want to scare you," because she knew I had been watching her journey, so she was kind of hesitant to say, and she was hoping that it wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But now at this point, I'm like in tears, and I said, "Do you think this is what I'm dealing with?" And she said, "I think you're dealing with endometriosis and possibly adeniosis, which is when the tissue is in the muscle of the uterus as well. So not only is it covered on your organs, it's also in the uterus, embedded in the uterus." And so I wrote, I took information down. I went to my family doctor and I said, "I believe this is what I'm dealing with. What are the next steps?" She recommended some local providers who I did not feel comfortable with. And so I got the information from my friend, and I said, and she recommended just going straight to him. She said, "If I were you, I wouldn't spend any more time or money.
Resources.
Yes, money, resources on
pain.
Yes, she's like, just do it. And she said, if I could recommend anything, just go straight to him and get it done. And so I reached out to him, filled out some paperwork online. Part of that was I had to gather all of my medical records from my care provider, all the ER visits, which have been a lot, and it was a stack of paper about this high, and I sent it to him, and he contacted me, and he said, and now I'm about to cry, I've already done this, but
I know, it's just like,
yeah, he contacted me and he said, "I can tell you've been in a lot of pain for a really long time." And I just cried, and I said, "Thank you," because finally someone looked at the big picture and didn't blow me off or didn't try to
take pain meds.
Yeah, just say take some pain meds, and didn't make me feel like I was being a wimp for being in pain. And so he validated my concerns, and he said, "I believe I can help you." And just from looking at the paperwork, he was able to say, are you having pain in this area, and are you having these complications? And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So he could see where it was spreading and the organs that it was impacting.
Yeah.
Just from the paperwork.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because why isn't this something that all doctors can do?
Yeah.
It was here all the time. And so I felt
it was just like, oh, you
yes,
get this.
yes,
like, yeah.
It was like a weight off too, because we doubt, we doubt ourselves all the time. Like, even though I felt strongly, like, I believe this is what it is, I'm ready to move forward, something was still like
is it really?
Yeah, I was still doubting it.
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or is he gonna call me and say nope? Like, that fear was there, and so to have him validate it and to say, yeah, I think I can help you. It was like the best news in that I had in a long time. And so
you could kind of give him some of this, and instead of carrying it all, you had a partner in moving forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then you flew to Atlanta.
I did. So it was kind of all happened fast.
Yeah.
My husband and I flew to Atlanta, and got there the day before the surgery, had some prep work done, and the doctor did a physical exam, and he was able to see, like, this is real, and this is everywhere. And so again, he was able to confirm just from a physical exam, and he did an ultrasound too, and he could see, he knew what to look for.
Yeah.
And so they, we got me prepped for everything, the surgery. And I should go back. He prepped me in a way of saying, we don't know what we're gonna see when we go in here. So, and I want to make sure this is the only time you have to go under and have this surgery.
Yeah.
And so, what are you comfortable with? And so what he was saying is, we know we're gonna do a full hysterectomy. Are you okay if the ovary needs to go, or if we see that it's covered and we can't get it all, it would be better to remove the organ. I don't want to do that, but I just want to know, are you okay with that? To give you the fullest success rate. Yeah. And I was okay with that. I wanted it out. I wanted everything out that didn't need to be there, and I wanted to be on the road to feeling better. So
yeah,
it ended up being like a 4-hour surgery, so it was longer than usual.
Yeah.
But he found it everywhere. Which again is that fear thing of like, oh, is he gonna go in there and there not be anything? So still doubting everything up until the surgery, until I'm on the table. And but yeah, it was in the pelvic cavity, it was on my bladder, it was on my appendix. It was, so it was covering really important areas, and there was scar tissue there as well. So but I noticed, like, immediately a difference after having the surgery. I would say even the next day, I woke up and I could tell that something felt different.
Lighter.
I felt lighter. I mean, my uterus was twice as big as it should have been. Like, I looked pregnant. If you had seen me prior to the surgery, I always looked like I was, like, in my beginning of second trimester, because my stomach was so big. And it was the uterus. It was swollen. And, yeah.
I just, like, the fact that no one wondered why, you're a very petite woman.
Right, it was so obvious.
Very petite woman.
It was obvious to, like, why is her belly
distended like that?
Yeah.
So you went in, you had the surgery, he found that it was all over, he was able to keep one ovary. Mm-hmm. And so now you're not feeling the pain that you were feeling.
No, so I am 2 months post-op, and so I've had 2 cycles, or my body has experienced 2 cycles, of a potential, menstrual cycle, even though I'm not having periods anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel any pain, and I was even like gearing up for it, like, because I know my cycles, I've tracked it for years, so I knew when it was coming, and nothing flared, nothing was triggered, and it's amazing, like to go from being in so much pain, like going through bottles of Advil, like just popping it like candy, and just to even be functional,
like slightly tame pain, and so they said it can be like a year before you know what your new, like, normal is. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
But I'm already feeling hopeful. Yeah, like it's night and day already. I have more energy, because as you can imagine, being in chronic pain, it just slowly zaps away your energy, and
well, I'm like so thankful that there is a doctor in Atlanta. There's someone that could provide support to you and take away pain. Like, that's so we'll definitely link to his website, and so I want to end on one question, and that's, if there's one thing women can take away from your experience, like, what is it? Like, what can we learn from this experience?
I would say the biggest thing is, like, we have to be our own advocate. Like, we have to have confidence in our ability to know. We have to know our bodies, and so we know when things are off, we know when things are wrong, and to not doubt that. I've done it myself. I've seen women in my family doubt that voice that says something's wrong and you need to pursue this, instead of just accepting the first, you know, just accepting like it is what it is, or let's just cover it.
I'm weak, or
and to not be afraid of feeling weak or appearing weak or feeling foolish.
Yeah.
You know, we just have to advocate for ourselves, and that would be the biggest thing, because that was the turning point for me when I finally decided that
I'm going to figure this out.
I have to figure this out. I've seen 6 doctors. They're not helping me. And so when I made that decision, it felt empowering. It really did. Because I made a choice, and I, you know, moved forward with my own care. And I let it. And that's what I loved about that provider. I was in charge of my care. He was the expert. Absolutely. And I trusted him.
He still asked
but
you.
But he asked me every step of the way.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I'm the expert, just...
I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do what I need to do.
No, it was like, what do you want? How can I make this, you know, a good experience for you? And this is your body. What do you want to do? You know, that's empowering. And so...
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a lot to learn from what you just shared, and if you think you have endometriosis, if you are struggling with that, definitely seek out support. Don't just think that, oh, this is normal. If it doesn't feel normal, follow your intuition.
Being in pain all the time during your
normal.
cycle is not normal. It is not normal.
Yeah.
Thank you.